Hello everybody, it's Matt from TDMSTYLE here, and welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you 5 tips to help you win the fight against frizz, even on those extra humid days. So before we get into the main video, I've actually got a very special giveaway for you guys. For today's video, I've partnered up with JORD watches, and they are a US-based company, and they make these absolutely beautiful wooden watches. My watch here is the Frankie series one in zebra wood with a navy face, and I absolutely love it. It goes with so many of my outfits, and it's just so unique. It's definitely an eye catcher and a conversation starter. And they have all different kinds of watches for both men and women in all different colors with different types of wood, different faces. So there's something for everyone. You can get them engraved. They come in this gorgeous wooden box with a magnetic lid. And I just think it's something that's really cool. I mean, you don't often see a person wearing a wooden watch. So I've got a special giveaway for you guys. All the details are in the description box down below, but just follow that special link and you'll be asked to enter just your name and email address. And at the end of the giveaway period, one lucky winner will be chosen, and that person will get a coupon code worth $180 to put towards their own watch. I've also got a separate coupon code down below for $25 off your order, and that is going to be active during the entire giveaway period. So definitely make sure to sign up for that giveaway so you can get yourself one of these absolutely gorgeous watches. All right, now back to the topic at hand, and that is combating all the crazy frizziness and waviness that can happen to your hair during those hot, humid days. So what actually causes your hair to become wavy and frizzy in high humidity? Well, if we get sciencey for a second and we actually look at a hair strand, in the center of your hair strands are these bundles of keratin proteins. Now those keratin proteins will form bonds with surrounding molecules. Now the bonds that they form with the sulfur molecules nearby are actually permanent, and those are what make up your hair strength. However, they also form bonds with nearby hydrogen molecules, and those are reset every time that your hair gets wet and dries. So when it's super humid outside, there's a lot of water in the air, so that means a lot of hydrogen. So what that means for your hair is there's going to be all these extra hydrogen molecules floating around, and when those start making extra bonds with those keratin proteins, it actually makes the hair fold back on itself at a molecular level. When that happens enough, it actually disrupts the outer smooth cuticle of the hair, which is what makes it curl up or become frizzy. So now let's talk about 5 different ways that you can help fight against all that humidity. Tip number 1, and arguably the most important one, is to get yourself a hydrating shampoo and conditioner. Essentially, at the core of what we're trying to do with all 5 of these tips is to maintain moisture in your hair. The more moisturized your hair is before you go outside, the less prone it will be to trying to absorb more of that moisture from the air. So if you're using a shampoo that's really drying out your hair, that's going to be way more prone to sucking in all that extra moisture from the humidity, and it's going to frizz out like crazy. So most shampoo lines come with like a normal version, a hydrating or moisturizing version, and a repair version. So if you have a drier or coarser hair type like I have, I actually recommend that you get one of the repair types of shampoos and conditioners, because those are going to have the absolute highest levels of extra hydration. By the same token, you want to be careful not to overuse it, because that can make your hair a little bit greasy or weighed down if you use too much. But that kind of goes hand in hand with this tip. The other sort of sub portion of this tip is that you don't want to be shampooing every day. I know I say that all the time, but it's even more important during the summer. By not shampooing every day, you're just going to allow your hair time to rebuild those natural oils, and that's just going to help it stay hydrated and fight against that humidity. Tip number 2, you can actually embrace the humidity a little bit by using a sea salt spray. Now, obviously the beach is a naturally humid area. I mean, there's a massive body of water there, but the reason that your hair doesn't get frizzy there is because of the salt. So when you simulate that effect with a sea salt spray, your hair is going to have a really just sort of natural kind of wavy look. It's going to look great, and the salt is going to help absorb some of that excess moisture that's in the humid air before it gets into your hair strands. Tip number 3 is kind of a 2-parter that go hand in hand, and that's to use a moisturizing pre-styler and make sure you dry your hair thoroughly. So by using a pre-styler like a serum or a leave-in conditioner, a cream, or even something that's waxy and will kind of seal in the moisture that your hair has while it's damp is going to help tremendously. And you also want to make sure that you use that blow dryer and get your hair 100% dry. And by the same token, if you're like showering at night, you want to make sure that you do not go to bed with wet hair. If you've ever done that, I'm sure you've woken up with an insane frizzy bedhead. I know I have. And the reason for that is your hair is actually at its most fragile state when it's wet because of all those hydrogen molecules floating around. So when you dry that with a blow dryer, it's getting rid of all that excess moisture, and especially you want to make sure you use that cool shot button because that's going to smooth the outer cuticle of your hair and lock it into place. Tip number 4 is to finish your style with a heavier, thicker, or oil-based product. So what I'm talking about here are things like clays, heavy waxes, or oil-based pomades. These types of products work the best at fully coating your hair and basically forming a seal that's going to lock in the moisture that it has and help to lock out the moisture from outside. You may even want to experiment a little bit and use a little bit more product than you're used to using, which obviously you want to be careful not to go overboard and make your hair look flat or greasy, but that little bit extra just to make sure that everything has a nice even coat is really going to help. And finally, tip number 5 is to seal your style with a hairspray and set it and forget it. Essentially, this is just adding another layer of something that's going to seal that moisture into your hair and seal out the moisture from the humid air. And by set it and forget it, I mean just try your best not to touch it throughout the day. Now, this is one of the hardest tips for me to follow, actually, because I always like to use products that allow me to run my fingers through my hair and restyle it throughout the day and that sort of thing. But if you think about it, every time that you do that, you're actually removing a little bit of product from your hair because you can feel it on your hands after you do that. And so each time that you remove some of that product by running your hands through it, it's just making your hair more susceptible to those water molecules in the humid air. So just get yourself a decent hairspray and lock that style into place. Alright guys, so that about wraps things up for these 5 anti-humidity tips. I hope that you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so to keep up with all the new content coming up soon. Make sure you enter that JORD watch giveaway, and as always, thanks so much for coming by and watching, and we'll see you at the next one.